you fail forward. You want to fail because that's how you grow, and that's how you know. Like kind of like Thomas Edison, right? A million ways that it didn't work for a light bulb, but he just needed that one to work.
Yeah. Welcome to the Evolve Podcast, an open forum on personal growth and cultivating a positive mindset. I'm your host, Joe Fitzpatrick. Today on the show, we have a longtime friend of mine, Jullan Hernandez. Jullan and I went to high school together, and we recently reconnected on Facebook. Born in the Philippines, Jullan Hernandez immigrated to the United States at the age of 9 with his mom and stepfather, and he grew up in Southeast Virginia. After graduating high school, Jullan joined the United States Marine Corps as an avionics technician on the V-22 Osprey. After serving 5 years in the military with a deployment in Afghanistan, Jullan left the service to pursue school and a career in the industrial power plant field. He served on project management teams in the solar and nuclear industry in California and Pennsylvania. In 2021, Jullan and his wife, Melinda, moved their 3 children back to Virginia to be closer to their families. In April 2022, Jullan made the decision with his wife to leave his stable job working with Dominion Energy for a more fulfilling career in real estate, doing what Jullan is passionate about, building relationships with people and helping them find their dream homes. Jullan has a passion for aviation. He currently has his private pilot's license and enjoys taking trips and sharing his love of flying with anyone willing to hop in a plane. Along with aviation, Jullan is passionate about real estate and the many avenues of opportunity that it can provide to his family. Investing, building wealth, and helping people navigate the world of today's market. Let's go. Thanks for joining me on the podcast, man. Stoked to have you here.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. This is I think this is great. So it's been a while since I've been on a podcast, to be honest with you.
When was the last time?
So I actually started a podcast it was like 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I started my own thing. But at the time there was a lot of transition going on, and it was between 3 of us, and we our schedules, it was just such a pain to get all of our schedules kind of set together.
Yeah.
It just started dwindling off, right? And so so it just kind of fizzled out. I'm thinking I'm going to try to revive it at some point, but I'm not sure when.
What was your podcast about?
So it was about helping veterans, whether starting their own business or getting help, or it was a lot about mindset, reframing, and just in general, like how to use what we have coming from a military background and turning it into our civilian careers or into a business or even in just daily lives with our families.
Yeah, well, that sounds really interesting. And I'm sure we're going to get into that on a personal level.
Yeah.
But before we get started, can you please just introduce yourself, tell us what you do for a living right now, as well as what you're passionate about.
Okay, perfect. So my name is Jullan Hernandez. I'm a real estate agent here in Southeast Virginia, Hampton Roads area. from went to high school here, immigrated here, went to high school, immigrated here when I was 9, went to high school in the area, and then out of high school went straight into the military. And from there, did a short stint, and went into kind of industrial, commercial power plant stuff, nuclear and solar, stops in California and Pennsylvania, to be honest. And that's actually what brought me back here, was family and that same industry. But as time has gone by, I just, real estate has always been a passion of mine, among other things like aviation, which is, I love flying. Took me, 2 years to kind of get my license, but real estate has always been something I've loved, and liked, doing, whether it's just viewing homes or, flipping my own houses that I've owned. And it's kind of been a family affair, to be honest with you. My kids were always there by my side, whether it's demo or, installing something new, which was awesome. And so, yeah, so those are kind of what I'm passionate about. And, that's, being a real estate agent, this is the other side of that coin, which is really, a whole different side, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been great, man. It's definitely a new adventure. And I get to not only talk to my kids about, you can be whatever you want to be when you grow up, but now I'm actually showing them.
Yeah. It's really great that they're able to get that hands-on experience and shared experience with you. I think that's really awesome that you can, put them to work in that way and, share that passion of yours. Just to recap everyone on how we know each other, Jullan and I actually went to high school together. And we haven't talked since then, other than pretty recently. So, a lot's happened since we graduated in 2006. We reconnected through Facebook, and, I'm interested to see, how you've grown over the years. Yeah, I know you've done a lot, especially coming out of the military, and all the crazy experiences that come along with that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But now you're creating this new life for you and your family, and I think it's really beautiful. And also, it's amazing to hear how you're helping other veterans do the same.
Yeah, and it's when you put it all, I've never heard anybody kind of put it into that perspective. This is actually the first time somebody's kind of summed it and put it out there.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool to hear. To be
Yeah.
honest. Yeah, man. I mean, 2006, I mean, we're what, 15 years? It's actually close to 15, 16 years.
Yeah.
Which is insane to think about, and yeah, a lot of things have happened, and ups and downs, good or bad. It, kind of like what you said, is that I love being able to share this with my kids, with my family.
Yeah.
And getting to see those aha moments. And it's just really the defining reason why I left the military in the first place. So,
yeah. How old are your kids now?
7, 5, and 3.
Okay.
It's a zoo. It's a great zoo.
Yeah.
It's really the only way I can put it.
Do you have any siblings yourself?
Yeah, so I have a stepbrother who is 26. He's in the Army in Texas. I have, excuse me, I always say step, but they're actually all my half brother and half sisters. My half brother is 26 in the Army, going through school to become a physician's assistant. My little sister is at UVA, or excuse me, was at UVA and is now in med school at VCOM, a tech. Wants to become a surgeon, I believe. Then I have another I have another sister who is 16 and going through high school, and then I have a little brother who is going into 8th grade.
So you're the oldest of 5 kids.
Yeah. There's a lot of us.
Some of them are half siblings, but yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that. I'm actually the oldest of 5 siblings as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all a year apart from each other. First 4 of us.
Okay.
And, the youngest sister, Becca, she is 8 years younger than me, 4 years younger than my brother. So there's a bit of an age gap there, but we're all out of college now and living our adult lives. And yeah, it's interesting to see, how we all sort of have developed in our own ways, some more similar and some different than others. I've had my fair share of highs and lows over the past 16 years as well. I have had some mental health struggles. I've had some alcohol abuse struggles, relationship issues, as a result of all of that. Changed my body in many ways. I wasn't as active in the past as I am now, and I've also like changed what that type of activity looks like over the years, from like starting off with running to like getting more into biking and weightlifting like I do now. It's all a journey, it's all a process. So I want to hear more about how you got started into like real estate. Like you said, you love it and you've loved it for some time now. How'd you get started with that? Like, getting your license and, starting enough like flip houses and build out that business?
Yeah, so that's kind of an interesting story, to be honest. It actually started with the second house we bought, which was back in 2016. And I'm a product of the HGTV. Makes it, they make it look so easy. And it was just started with little projects here and there, and then I started to realize, and at this point I'd been out of the military for a while. I did electronics in the military, and I had done the solar construction and power plant stuff. And at the time I was working at a nuclear plant up in Pennsylvania. And again, a lot of electrical, electronics and stuff like that. And I just, I started doing little things and started like getting it, and I mean, there's a lot of learning to be done. But it just started turning out fun. My dad in the Philippines was a civil engineer, and he was somewhat of a carpenter at times. He's the one kind of, I was always at the construction sites. I was always, I've seen him build things and all these things. Right. And I just kind of started. It was like almost, whether it's cliche or not, it was just literally like, I just decided I was going to do it one day and just started doing it. And I put a couple, I put a few holes in the wall, and before I knew it, I was kind of like, well, what am I doing?
As far as doing demolition?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I mean, there was always an excuse for me to like not do anything. The first thing we did was put flooring down in the house. Now it seems so simple, but before we had no idea. We had no idea how to do baseboards. We had no idea how to, make sure the floor is level, and and what type of material we were going to use, and how to measure for it and how to account for it. And I mean, we literally, that when we decided we were going to rip up flooring and put new flooring in, I just started ripping and tearing. Had no clue,
Get
no
it out
direction what to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it kind of just forced me to do it, right?
Right.
It forced me to learn. But the feeling of just accomplishment, which is something I struggled with, after I left the Marine Corps. That feeling of accomplishment, that feeling of having a goal and doing something about it has always been missing,
Mm.
had always been missing. And it kind of gave me, a little bit of purpose, a little bit of, something to work towards. And over time, it became like, hey, let's add this bench. Hey, let's, repaint this and redo this trim. And hey, let's redo our kitchen,
Yeah.
and throughout that process, we sold a house that we bought in 2016, and then we bought another one. And at the time, we had found a new realtor that we'd really liked. And she became a friend and kind of a mentor to us. And she actually was the first one to say, hey, you ever thought about getting your real estate license and doing this for a living? And at the time I made pretty decent money, and I was just like, no, I'm not a salesman. And she just kind of planted that seed in me. And so kind of fast forward to this year in April, I was working for Dominion Energy, right? And through some things, just kind of one day, well, I shouldn't say one day, but it was over a week to 2 weeks of just straight thinking, of just meditating, reflecting, and praying. And I woke up that Monday, because I left my job at Dominion the week of Easter, the
Of
Monday
this year.
of this Easter.
Okay. Wow. I didn't realize it was that recent.
Yeah, very recent. And decided that I was going to bet on myself, and I wanted to always do this. I've always felt like I could have a business, right? But it was a matter of, taking that risk,
Yeah.
and yeah, so I took the risk. I mean, we had, it wasn't only my decision. I had to talk with my wife, obviously.
Yeah.
But if I think back, I wouldn't have been able to make that decision without, I kind of like what you mentioned. I went through a lot of highs and lows too. And had to go through, I had some mental issues, had to really buckle down and actually ask for help.
Mhm.
And get myself to a place where I wasn't, for lack of a better word, paranoid, and just worried about being a people pleaser, and feeling okay with putting myself and my family first over somebody else's opinions.
Yeah. That's always the hard part, especially if, you are really concerned with people pleasing. That's definitely been a growth point for me. Just being okay with, what I want, and not being as concerned with, what my family wants, for example, because, there is some differences there, in terms of like what I'm doing with my career, how I'm providing for myself and, my partner, and now our dog. Just how I'm living my life, and like in terms of like getting tattoos, or how I choose to spend my money, things of that nature.
Well, yeah, like it's crazy, right? And I, the, when people like, for example, like in my family, sit there and question, or give me advice, whether solicited or unsolicited.
Yeah.
You know, I know that it's from a place of love and protection.
Right.
but at the same time, what I've come to realize in my life, for example, is that they don't know, they're seeing it from one side. And at the
Yeah.
end of the day, they're not living with the decisions I make. I'm going to have to. And if I can sit there and whatever, if I'm faced with a decision and I feel good that I know I'm putting myself and my family first over anybody else, that's been kind of been my guiding light, you know?
That's great. So going back to that conversation with your wife, when you're making the decision to leave Dominion, leave that safety net and, jump into this new opportunity, with a lot of risk, like what was your why for making that decision? Like what determination did you guys come to?
Well, that's a loaded question there.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it was, so I was always raised, right, that with a sense of responsibility to everybody, I think as any individual is, I was raised that I am going to take care of my family no matter what. And that's not a bad thing. That's an
No.
absolutely great thing. However, that led me to stay at different positions, different jobs, different companies far longer than I probably should have, at the expense of my mental state, at the expense of my physical state, and just almost at the expense of my marriage and
Really?
relationship with my kids. And I stayed at that job for about 7 years.
And this is the Dominion job you're referring to?
No, this is the nuclear job I'm referring to.
Got it.
And again, nothing, the job was great. It provided my family with a type of lifestyle that I wanted for my family. It provided, it helped me get my private pilot's license, and we were comfortable, but I was miserable at the same time.
Yeah.
And when we decided to leave there, we were hoping that coming here to Chesapeake, the Tidewater, Hampton Roads area, that being closer to family was going to help us, and that I would take a pay cut to be closer to family and also be able to actually enjoy life a little bit more. Well, when I was talking with my wife to make that decision to leave Dominion, the first thing she said was, we did not leave X company to do the same thing at this company. And we had to do some number crunching. We had to really look at ourselves as people, as parents, as individuals, and really make that decision together. Because if I had just left, well, one, I don't know, it'd be a fight every day, right? But knowing that no matter what I decided, I would have her full support, really helped me take a chance on myself, take a chance on being able to do this.
Yeah, that's great. It really does help when making big decisions to have the support of your partner, right? Especially if you have kids to think about as well. You're not making the decision just for you and your wife, you're making the decision for your whole family. And it is a big decision to make. I'm sure there was some level of discomfortability, uncomfortability on all parts. But they believe in you as a hard worker and someone who is responsible to do what you need to do to be successful in that.
Yeah, that's help, and understanding that I've put it this way, I've never worked harder in my life and enjoyed every bit of it.
What do you enjoy most about it?
I love just talking to people. I love connecting with people. I've made more friends and connections in the past few months than I have ever. Generally speaking, in every job I've ever had up till now, I have made I have made every effort to, let's say I'm working at a power plant. I made every effort to live as far away as reasonably possible so I don't get to see anybody I work with. You know, and now because of my my job, my passion, my everyday life is about real estate. Like real estate is all around us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
that's interesting how you were trying to avoid work before, and now, you're trying to surround yourself with, the people that you work with, on a regular basis. And it
yeah,
definitely speaks to, your mental state with how you're relating to your quality of work as well. Hey guys, brief pause in the episode to tell you about some of the great businesses that support this podcast. First, we got Weight Train. Use code Evolved Podcast to get 10% off all Weight Train and Athleticity gym gear and apparel. No matter what you need for your workouts, they have the gear to help you get it done. And if you don't see something you want, email them at team@weighttrain.com and they will take your requests for new products. Visit Weight Train for all your gym gear needs. Next is True Nutrition. Use code Evolved Podcast to get 5% off all nutrition supplements. I'm personally a fan of their soy isolate vegan protein powder, available in a variety of flavors and strengths, from light to heavy. They also have non-vegan protein powders if that's not your thing. I personally recommend the cinnamon bun and toasted coconut flavors in the heavy strength, and I add them to waffles, oatmeal, protein shakes, and ice cream. They're delicious. Check out their wide range of supplements at affordable prices that are third-party tested and verified for content quality. They are able to provide such great prices because the supplements come direct from the manufacturer without any marketing gimmicks or fancy labels. Visit TrueNutrition.com to supplement your workouts and your nutrition. Last is Hate Brand Goods. Use code Evolved Podcast to get 15% off all Hate Brand clothing and accessories. Their goat shorts and shirts are the most comfortable clothing I've ever worn, and they have the coolest designs. However, their clothing drops are only available in limited quantities, so get your favorites while you can, and be on the lookout for other drops that you're stoked on. Visit thehate.com, spelled HVIII, for clothing to remind the world that you're not dead yet and you're ready to kick today in the dick. Back to the show.
yeah, it's been kind of a head scratcher, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So it's not something I would normally do, and it's I've taken into account, I've talked a couple times with my wife here and there at night, and she's, why are you still working? I'm like, I honestly kind of just sucked into this thing, and I love it. I mean, I get to go ahead. Sorry.
Do you find it hard to have a work-life balance? I mean, I know you're sort of just getting started, and it does require a lot now, as you're like building that client base and trying to get referrals and all that. But like, how do you try to like manage that work-life balance?
Well, I can't take any credit for this one. This is my wife. So she's created, time blocking, right? Pretty easy concept, but
Yeah.
harder to implement. But we've kind of time blocked, but we've time blocked in shifts. So we have 4-hour blocks throughout the day, 8 to 12, 12 to 4, 4 to 8. and we basically leapfrogged each other. Whoever gets the first block is doing whatever they need to do, and the other person is making sure our kids are taken care of, they're being watched, we're engaged with our kids, so that way we're ensuring that their cups are filled,
Right.
and that they're getting the emotional and whatever needs that they need, and then we'll switch, right? And it's kind of nice. One, it forces us to turn it off because now we're paying attention to our kids, but also it allows us the flexibility to also get stuff done, right? Implementing it has been a little bit harder,
I
but
imagine so. Yeah,
we're getting there.
that's good.
Yeah.
Do you have a workout routine that you like to do to help you stay active?
Well, so I do a lot of walking, with the dogs and kind of,
Yeah.
I'm doing an open house. I'm very much like looking, going by the house and trying to invite the neighbors and stuff like that. I also follow a regimen. It's called street parking. If you've ever heard of it.
No.
It's an online based community that allows you, it's a membership really, and they help you, they plan out all the workouts for you. They have contests throughout the year. And it really started from COVID because nobody could go to the gym, right? And we found them during COVID and kind of just stuck with them. It's an amazing community that's really, it got all the benefits of being in CrossFit or like the community of CrossFit, but it's not CrossFit.
What is it?
It's functional fitness, really.
Okay.
Like this. So we were lifting weights, we're doing a lot of the same things, but the mantras of CrossFit at times are, you're going to get hurt, or they're going to push you and then you're going to eventually get hurt, all those things that can lead to some injuries or just people overreaching themselves. Like that's
Right.
not it at all. It's been great because it's accepted that you're going to do what you can do. Like if you can't lift 35 pounds because that is the prescribed weight, don't lift 35 pounds, lift 15, and it's a husband and wife couple that do it. And it's great. You get to do it at the gym, or you can do it at your home in your home, and you can do it with literally nothing if you want to.
Right. Just body weight.
Yeah, body weight stuff or a sandbag. I will confess I haven't been doing it as much lately because I'm all about this, but it's something that has been always ingrained in my routine. And so it's great.
Sounds cool. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, street parking, man, it's good stuff.
What project are you currently working on or have recently finished?
Well, the project right now is just trying to get my business up and running, right?
Right.
Before that, my project management, when you say project, I always think of my project management experience, right? I've done projects in the nuclear facility. I've done it in solar, and most recently here with Dominion. But again, the thing that I'm in love with and I enjoy the most right now is doing this, being part of, being present in my business and trying to incorporate it in every part of my family life as well. Like, my kids go out with me when we, go and let the neighbors know on an open house. My kids will go with me. And it's a great time because I get to hit two birds with one stone. I get to spend time with my kids and joke around and then also accomplish something I need to do.
Yeah.
And the kids love it. So
That's great. It's cool to see them getting involved, and who knows, maybe it'll rub off on them and they'll want to go into real estate too.
well, The neatest thing happened the other day is because I did it the previous week. I did, we did the same thing, brought the kids over, and we went door knocking. And what was it, Sunday? My oldest son said, "Hey, Dad, you think we can have a lemonade stand, or cake, and maybe have a garage sale at the same time?" I was like, "Why would you want to do that?" "Well, I want to start my own business." And I'm like, "Cool, man, let's do it."
Yeah.
So it's kind of neat to start seeing it and really ingrain it in my kids.
Yeah, it's clicking, that spirit of entrepreneurship, like starting something that's your own, and really just hitting the ground running with it, like trying to take an idea and bring it to life. It's really cool that he is getting that.
Yeah, I mean, and again, it goes back to all the when I grow up, and I'm sure like many other people, their parents said you can be whatever you want to be, right? But in this aspect, being an entrepreneur, starting my own business, much like yourself, I think is one of the purest ways to really be that example to my children.
Yeah,
Be
definitely.
what they want to be, right?
Yeah, and it's definitely something that I wish I did more when I was younger. I didn't necessarily have the discipline or the maturity to do that, but those are good skills that you can cultivate in starting your own business. And if you find something that you're passionate about, no matter what age you are, like start, because the best time to plant a tree is yesterday.
Yeah, right.
The
Well,
second best time is right now.
right, exactly, and it's never too late. I mean, one of the guys that I love and kind of in some way look up to and is Steve Harvey. Didn't get started to his mid to late 30s. I mean, look at whatever, the guy who founded KFC. He didn't even start his first franchise till he was 60. So it's never too late. And although my wife would probably debate me on the maturity aspect, you know, I mean, if you can have fun doing it, why not?
Exactly. What does your morning routine look like each day? What do you
Ooh.
do when you wake up?
Well, the first thing I do, is I still smoke. So that's a big no-no. And I'm trying to figure out how to slowly move away from. But then um, I go and meditate. And
Have a cigarette and then meditate?
yeah, I go smoke a cigarette, drink my coffee, and sit and meditate outside. It's literally my thing. And it's not, it doesn't necessarily have to be in that order, but it's it's not, I'm not listening to music. I'm not really, there's no thought. It's really just to start the day off in a positive manner, right? With affirmations,
Yeah.
And everybody has some type of limiting belief, and I mean, this hasn't, this new venture, this business I'm in it hasn't been as easy as I thought it has been, but but the results are speaking for themselves. And I getting rid of those at the start of my day has really helped me be able to push through. And then once I meditate, it's really, then I sit down and I plan out my day. I'm never, well, it's not here right now. There it is. I am never too far from this, my planner, and it literally lists everything I do in the day. And it's very flexible to the point where I usually add to it. Because I find that I have way more time than I think I do.
Right.
And then I'll go work out.
Good
Then,
stuff.
yeah.
Sounds like a great, if you
Yeah.
if you could kick the smoking habit, I'd say that sounds
Right.
okay.
Well, I mean, that's, in a lot of past, in the past, I would have left that out, honestly.
Yeah,
But this is part of my development as an entrepreneur, as a person, is just, I'm not proud of it,
sure.
but I'm proud to admit that I'm working on it, you know?
I hear you. I mean, I appreciate your honesty, completely. I used to smoke cigarettes as well. Thankfully, it didn't last very long. Uh, it started when I was in college in a moment of weakness, and then, you know, I eventually, after about 5 or 6 years, uh, I had the willingness to quit, and I use like gas station electronic cigarettes.
Mhm.
Helped me like wean off the nicotine, plus like the habit of having a cigarette in your mouth, and like uh, also I eventually quit drinking as well
Mhm.
in 2019. I think drinking, some people would agree that it can be a trigger for smoking cigarettes, especially around other people who are doing that.
Yep.
So I was able to like get past that, concurrent behavior, while still continuing drinking for a while. But eventually I realized, drinking also wasn't really adding any value to my life at that point. So I decided to stop it, like basically cold turkey. And thankfully, quitting alcohol was a lot easier for me than quitting cigarettes. It took me a few times to try and quit, but eventually the e-cigarettes is what helped me get it done. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. And you're right. Like smoking and drinking go almost synonymous with me, which is also why when I do drink, it's one beer. I limit myself to 1 to 2 beers, and it's very occasional. I mean, I got a lot of partying out in the military out of the way that way.
Yeah.
I mean, even now, I don't. It's very hard. I'm more than happy to like go to a party or get together and have a beer or whatever. But I do it to socialize. The drinking doesn't define how much fun I had.
Yeah.
And one of the craziest things, back in 2010, my wife was my girlfriend at the time. We had just started dating, and her best friend was getting married, and their wedding was dry, completely dry. Of course, me and a few people were in the parking lot, had a drink by our cars. But 3 hours later, we hadn't drank anything, and it was the most fun I'd ever had in a long time. And it kind of that's kind of how I was like, nope, I'm done. With the excess. Um, and the cigarettes have just been such a big part of the military for me, and deployment, and the stress. It became a stress reliever.
Yeah, sure.
I'm happy to report now it's mostly just out of routine. And so I'm slowly trying to wean myself off of it. And but I find that the busier I get, the less time I have to do it. So I'm okay
Well,
with
the question is, what are you replacing the habit with? Some people can do it cold turkey and like just like cut it off and then not replace it with anything.
it. Mhm.
But I've found from my experience as well as other people's experience, that it's much easier to replace the habit with something else. And so instead of smoking a cigarette, you're like, doing an e-cigarette, or like, having a lollipop or whatever, floats your boat. Usually like piggybacking on another behavior, like, instead of smoking, you go for a walk, and, after that you feel better,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, I got a little work to do in that department.
Hey, no one's perfect, man. So
Right.
I love that you're meditating though. How long have you been doing that for?
I've been doing that since 2018. Um, and it was kind of just on you know, a guy that I became friends with that suggested it. He kind of saw how stressed I was a lot of times. And it was something that I didn't really pay too much attention. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll try it.
Yeah.
And then going through, getting help for my mental issues kind of reinforced that. And I trusted, so I went to an equine therapy place. Um, we had a therapist and horses around us. We never, we didn't ride them, but they were just around us. And and then there was the horse specialist that was also in there making sure we were safe. And
Hmm.
it helped that the horse specialist, was retired Army, and served in Korea. And um, and he, excuse me, I don't know why I said Korea, Gulf War. But he kind of told me, or like showed me, how it had changed him. And at the time I was kind of desperate. My marriage, my family life was just on the rocks. And so this was a do or die kind of type of moment. So I just started doing it. It started out like literally like first time I did it, I think I lasted 30 seconds with a goal of 5 minutes. I was just like, I can't sit still. Like I got to do something, you know? And after that, over time, it just started building and building and building. And it helps every day, like, with anxiety and a lot of other things,
Yeah. Yeah. I struggle with anxiety as well. I know meditation is something I could definitely benefit from doing more frequently. I sometimes do it like after a yoga practice, like I do some at-home yoga, and that's helpful for me with like stretching as well as mindfulness. Um, I definitely don't take advantage of that enough. I have an app on my phone that I've used in the past called Insight Timer.
Okay.
You can do self-guided or guided, like pre-recorded meditations. It's really great. It's a free app, but it also has a premium subscription option. Um, so
Yeah.
maybe you'll be the motivation to get back into that.
Yeah. I mean, you know what, man? It centers me. If you had talked to me maybe a few, 5, 10 years ago, I would have, been the complete opposite, right? I would not be advocating for this. Um, but it's centered me, and I don't use apps. I literally sit and I close my eyes and I start with my ears and with what I can hear, and then the sensations that I feel or hear or what's in my gut, and I just start naming them, and when I can name them and understand where they're come from. So I don't have a time limit. I don't have a minimum or a maximum time. I just go until I feel I'm good. And once I do that, my day, I can be more focused for one, but also my day starts out on the right foot. When I don't do it, I am grumpy. I am grumpy
Yeah.
and I am not focused at all.
Yeah, it cultivates a good sense of awareness, not just of your surroundings, but of your inner self, how you talk to yourself. And you said before that you use affirmations as well. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. I will, especially if I'm having a harder, let's say I just had a rough day before, or for some reason, I just woke up and I feel anxious and I feel panicked. Um, I tell myself, well, I let myself feel whatever I am feeling, whether it's anxiety or sadness or grumpy. And then I tell myself it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to feel something, what, and being in the military, that was probably the hardest thing for me to understand.
Yeah.
And So like, and I was growing up, I grew up in a place or in an environment where, guys aren't supposed to show emotion, and you kind of just suck it up. And um, it allows me, by letting myself feel what it is and saying that it's okay, I wholly and truly accept myself. It just, it allows me to center and acknowledge that I don't have to be perfect, you know?
I'm
Um,
just curious, when you say it helps you to feel centered, or what do you mean by that?
it it gets me away from, the negative self-talk. Like,
Yeah.
why are you feeling this way? Why do you feel like, yeah, you're going to be a failure? Like, you're not doing anything. Like, what's wrong with you?
Mhm.
Those types of self-talk that is detrimental, whether you're an entrepreneur or whoever you are, or just, employed through a company, or, dad, mom, sister, brother, it doesn't matter. Those type of things um, will eat away at you, eat away at your self-esteem, eat away at yourself, at your image of yourself. And and in a lot of ways make you feel not worthy, and that something's wrong with you, and it leads kind of down a dark path, you know what I mean, a dark path that
Yeah.
it's self-destruction basically, right? And self-loathing. And so
Yeah.
by literally saying, I tell myself, it's a, even though I'm angry, and this is really what I say, is even though I'm angry because of what happened last night, for example, it's okay, and I accept myself. It's okay to feel that way and accept myself. And by saying that, it allows me to just say, to be me, to be a human, and not have to be perfect or feel like I have to be perfect for my family or myself.
Yeah. I love that. I've struggled with poor self-image and negative talk to myself as well. Resulting from my mental health and social anxiety, feeling like I've failed in certain respects, or like I'm not doing as good as I should be doing, that type of conversation. Um, and, feeling like I've let people down. Um, it's a hard conversation to have, but, um, one of my favorite quotes is from David Goggins. And he says, the most important conversations you have are the ones you have with yourself. And, that's definitely been a focus for me, and trying to speak more positively to myself. And, um, when things get tough, um, do some positive self-talk, sort of like what you do, with some like positive affirmations for, how I love myself, how I value myself, how I, do have value and people do love me. And just sort of reflect on that in like a mantra of sorts, um, just to, start to feel more grounded and more at peace with where I'm at.
Yeah, man. And I think, all of everything you just said, you're right, like your hardest critic, like, is yourself. And one of the things that I have that is all included in my meditation too, especially if it's especially hard day, um, you know, I will do it at night as well, if I need to, if I feel like I need to. Um, but counting my blessings, um, has really helped, with my self image as well. I mean, so one of the things that I consider myself fairly religious, and one of the things that I know Steve Harvey has talked about and as many motivational things is, count your blessings every day.
Mhm.
And it can be something as simple as you woke up today. You can talk, you can see color. You didn't, you had peanut butter, you have milk in your fridge, right? Those are all accomplishments that seem so mundane, seem so simple, and really don't even seem like accomplishments. But if you take if you look at it from another person, or try to see it from another person's point of view, those are huge, you know? And um and with all of that, what is it? Comparison is the thief of joy. You ever heard that quote?
Yeah, yeah, I'm a big fan of that one as well.
Yeah, it is. It is so true. And it is a daily, well, daily thing that I have to remind myself,
Mhm.
because it's easy. It's easy to compare. It's easy for me to sit back and be like, man, 2 years ago I was making this much money and my kids were blah blah blah. All these things, and look at what am I doing. There's so many what ifs. There's so many shoulda, woulda, couldas that it just robs you. You know.
Absolutely. Especially with, social media and, you know, looking at the highlight reel of everyone's life, you don't see all of it. And it's so easy to get caught up in that comparison, cycle. Um, but when you're in a creative slump, or like you're feeling like you're not, being as productive as you should be, what do you try to do to get out of it?
This might not be the right answer, but what I do, I give myself a break.
Yeah. No, I think that is the right answer,
You know, I allow myself to be like, it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm one of
Absolutely.
those. I'm one of those people. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I'm wasting time. Blah 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 blah. And I find out my previous attempts to force myself to do something productive, or force myself out of that feeling, that I end up messing up more, for lack of a better way of saying it. Uh,
Mhm.
it doesn't get me out of it. So I don't. I just kind of just allow myself to be, um, and if I live by like a 5 try rule. If I keep screwing up after 5 times, or I just can't figure something out, just we're done, moving on. You know, there's moving on, and if that means going and watching TV for a little bit and just relaxing, perfectly fine. If that means I need to go and, I don't know, start a different project and get
Yeah.
excited about that, I'll do that. It never means go lift weights, because that makes me more frustrated. um, but it might be even as simple as like, hey kids, like, let's go jump in the car and let's go drive around. Let's go on an adventure.
Yeah.
Um, and at times it's meant, hey, let's see if there's a plane available. Let's go fly. Let's go down to the Outer Banks real quick for a couple hours and just hang out at the beach. So
How close do you guys live to the beach?
we're in Chesapeake now. So
Okay.
yeah.
Couple hours.
Well, to Virginia
Well,
Beach.
Virginia Beach is like 30 minutes.
Yeah, 30 minutes. Outer Banks is, yeah, a few hours, couple hours.
Yeah.
But it's been nice because of my pilot's license, I can go all the way down to Hatteras in an hour,
Right.
right?
Yeah. So about that, how'd you end up getting your pilot's license? Did you like start flying when you were in the military, or was that something you did after?
It was something I did after. I actually, wanted to always be a pilot, um, because of my eyes, because of my eyesight, I could not. So I took a job in the military as close to it as possible, which was avionics, working on planes, working on aircraft. But kind of, and after that, just kind of threw it out of my head, to be honest with you. And then in 2017, my wife got me what they call a discovery flight in a small airplane, just to try it out, see if I'd like it. To her detriment, yeah, yeah, $300, and about 2 years later, I started a journey. I just decided, hey, I'm going to do this. I really want to do this because I've always wanted to.
So with your eyesight, like you couldn't fly in the military, but it's okay for like private flying.
It's okay for private flying. It's okay for commercial flying. It's just different. It um, it can be correctable. And don't quote me on this. I don't know all the requirements for to be a commercial licensed pilot, like an airline guy, or basically to be compensated or paid to fly. But I do know eyesight is a little bit more lax.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it's just. I also in the military, I also wanted something really. I really wanted to work with my hands. I've always loved working with my hands in one way or another, and so that kind of like, the avionics and electrical stuff kind of helped, kind of worked its way around, and it got me close to what I wanted to be, and it actually has served me well after the military. So
I'm surprised you didn't go into more electrical work, like becoming an electrician.
yeah, so me too, to be honest. I always thought about it. I just, after there is such a market, there's a position for, it's called instrument and controls.
Yeah.
In the power plant world, that's a very big thing. You're the guy that maintains, installs, troubleshoots all the systems inside that help everything kind of work, all the bells and whistles, so to speak, work inside a power plant. So I never felt the need to go get my electrician's license. And then from that point, I jumped into project management, which is something I loved. I loved being able to take care of my guys. I love to be part of the whole process of basically taking nothing or taking an old system and retrofitting it to something brand new by supervising, by helping, taking care of people, really.
Yeah. And I'm sure that project management experience applies well to real estate as well.
Yeah, it definitely applies because, I mean, you're juggling a lot of things, right? In the project management world, you're juggling timelines, you're juggling multiple departments, you're balancing budgets, and then overseeing multiple, whether it's contractors or workers, and you're going it from the planning phase to all the way to completion. And in this way, being a realtor, and in real estate, that's kind of it all kind of matches or goes along with it, from having a client or a customer and walking him through the process, through the multiple things that you got to do. It really all kind of fits. So
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any habits you practice that help you to stay productive, remember new ideas, or add value to your life? And if so, what are they?
um the one habit that I do have is, I don't know if it's a habit, more of a saying or a calling or a mantra, but consistency is key. Um, you know, I heard one time motivation comes and goes.
Yep.
Consistency is key. It's what's going to get you through everything. And so there are plenty of days where I just want to not do anything. I mean, I think everybody gets those days, right? But understanding, and this is where all the meditation and affirmations come in play. When I don't want to do anything, I can allow myself to I can give myself a break for not accomplishing everything. But but in exchange for that, I have to do something. that makes sense at all. You know, and it's like not mistaking progress for advancement, like for movement for advancement. And so that's, I mean, those are the kind of like things that I do every day, and I have to tell myself, because I might be productive in the morning, but by the afternoon, I've just eaten lunch and I really just want to sit down and take a nap, right?
Sure.
But I have to I give myself a break and say, okay, let's negotiate this, right? With myself. Like, you got a 15-minute nap, but after that 15-minute nap, that alarm goes off. You're getting up and you're doing whatever,
Right.
you know.
Yeah. And that's a good lesson, for your son or for anyone, who wants to run their own business. Like personal accountability is like the number one lesson to learn. You do need to develop that discipline and that accountability so that, you do have like a work schedule that you stick to, and, you don't make excuses for it. However, you do have that flexibility, where like if you do need to take a nap so that you can perform better and bring more focus and attention to the work you need to do after that, you can do that, but you are the one that you're holding yourself accountable to make sure that whatever does need to get done gets done, and you do it well.
Yes, absolutely. And it's, I mean, it's not, I don't know. I'm a very simple person. I like to consider myself a very simple person. So, um, you said it perfectly, personal accountability, and just really, if I have these goals today, I'm going to reach it. Even if I have to stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning and read to do it, I will do it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always fun staying up 1 o'clock in the morning. It's kind of actually become a habit to me, to my detriment, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Are there any other ways that you practice self-care in your life to give yourself the energy that you need to focus on your personal growth?
Um, it, aside from really, the meditation and working out, the biggest, I think, biggest piece about self-care for me is understanding that, what I'm doing today will pay off tomorrow,
Mm,
right?
right.
And um, but you know, and that understanding in itself pushes me to wake up every morning at 6 o'clock to do what I do and go to bed at 1 o'clock or whatever it may be. But I also have to sit there and understand that it's okay to give myself a day off.
Right.
You know, um, you can't get so absorbed in um in accomplishing your goal, that your goal is what defines you, or reaching that goal is what defines you, right?
Yeah.
There is so much more to the process. And it's, I liken it to when you're born, like at your gravestone, right? What is on your gravestone? Your name, the day you were born, and the day you die, right? And there's a little itty bit hash mark in between. That's where all the magic happens. That is where everything, your highs, your lows, everything happens. And I think a lot of people go through life just trying to reach that goal, whatever it may be, whether it's to buy a new car or buy a bigger house, get married, have kids, whatever it may be, but they don't stop and smell the roses.
Yeah.
And there's beauty in that. And hopefully I just answered your question.
I'm assuming you mean there's beauty in stopping and smelling the roses, right? Like
Yes.
being more concerned with the process of life than the results, or like the, end goals, whether
Correct.
it's, personal fulfillment, or, buying a new car or a new house or whatever, like those things can be nice for sure. And I hope that personal fulfillment can be found within the doing of everything that leads up to that. People talk about how, like, I want to get this next job, or get this next thing. Um, and those are definitely worthy aspirations, but it is important to enjoy the process along the way.
Yeah, exactly. I thank you. You're way better at articulating ideas than I am. But yeah, exactly. Because a lot of times, for example, somebody wants that new job. Usually when somebody wants a new job, I want this new job because it's going to make this A, B, or C better for me. The problem is when they get to that job, they forget about A, B, or C, and they turn around and start looking at other things, right? A lot for somebody who's a family man, or for somebody who is family oriented. I want this new job, so I can spend more time with my family, only to get it and basically work harder, if not work just as hard, if not harder than before, and forget the whole reason why they got it, which was to spend more time with their family. Right. And that is a daily thing. I mean, there's a lot of daily things, I guess, but it is a daily reminder of going through and like you said, stopping at small roses, enjoying the process of growing. And
Right.
you know,
And also, setting an expectation that is compatible with the reality of the circumstances. Like, I'm sure before you got into real estate, what sort of, like you said, you had this expectation that you'd be able to spend more time with your kids, but you're realizing now that you're in it, the reality is, you are a lot busier than you thought you would be, which is a good thing. But you also have the flexibility of your schedule, so that you can make that more time to spend with your family and prioritize that, and you have more control over that than you would, when you were working for someone else.
yeah. And what's crazy is that, I think, as you being an entrepreneur in your own right, and me being so new to this, I don't ever want to go back. um, because there's so much growth in just taking that first step. I'm not just talking about myself either. I'm talking about for my wife and
Yeah.
from my family all in general. Like, there's so much growth involved in that kind of, you really figure out who you are, and you kind of have to.
Yeah, absolutely. Set yourself up for success, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. From hell or high water.
What's an obstacle that you're currently facing, or recently faced, and what practices do you use to cope with it?
Um, I have a lot of limiting beliefs. Some of them I didn't think were actually limiting beliefs until I got started.
Uh,
Such as, here's a good one. Why would anybody want to use me over somebody else?
mm,
Right? Or
yeah,
why do I stand out?
yeah,
And I know what has helped me get over those, or at least be able to battle those every day. Is, like I said before, meditation helps, saying affirmations help, but also understanding who I am. And it more than anything, you know, if I don't, in 5 or however long, in a year from now, and I've, to some degree, the business has not taken off, it's still not a failure in my eyes, because I've learned so much about who I am in the process and what I can do and what I didn't think I could do, but am doing now. And how do I put this? It's just like that whole idea, that whole concept of what I just said is like, I think, amazing in itself. Because I like talking to people. I don't necessarily like talking to people that I don't know, but I'm doing it.
Yeah,
You
you're
know what I
putting
mean?
yourself out there, stretching yourself outside of your comfort zone because it's something you have to do and it's good for your growth.
Exactly. And honestly, I mean, you remember me from high school. I was pretty outspoken.
Yeah.
But then towards the end of it, I just became a kind of a loner. Um, and very reserved and introverted. And for the longest time, I was like that. And to some degree, I still am. But now I'm kind of rediscovering a lot of things about me that I haven't necessarily seen or felt in a while. That makes sense. It's kind of great.
Yeah. Can you share what some of those things are?
Well, for one, I can laugh at myself. I don't take myself as serious as I used to. You know, failing failing is only it's only a failure if you allow yourself to think it's a failure. And by that I mean that, you know, if me being a realtor were to not be successful, well, who defines what success is?
You do.
Exactly, right? If I never get to work with a client in a year or two or whatever, and I decided to go in a different direction, is that a failure? Maybe to some people,
Right.
but what they don't see is how I've changed, right?
Yeah.
Right. And that in itself, the growth process is a win, right?
Absolutely.
And so again, goes back to who gets to define it, right? And
Yeah.
that's why I can smile about it and have fun with it. And I mean, as any entrepreneur will probably tell you, um, you fail forward. You want to fail because that's how you grow, and that's how like kind of like Thomas Edison, right? A million ways that it didn't work for a light bulb, but he just needed that one to work.
Yeah. Just need that one. Exactly.
So
Yeah. I mean, I relate to so much of what you said, in terms of feeling like a loner and, now having more compassion and love for myself, being able to laugh at myself, being able to appreciate myself more, and just being able to, um, accept myself more for the beautiful person that I am. And it does take a while, it can take a while to, accept that or see that aspect in yourself. And, if you have to make changes along the way, to get to that point, like I've had to do, that's okay too, and it's part of, growth. It's part of becoming the person that you want to be. And, you can do it. So, I'm proud of you for doing that, man.
no, yeah, man, I appreciate that, and I'm proud of you as well. I mean, it's one of the things I've always heard is you're a product of your environment, right?
Right.
And unfortunately, at least speaking for myself, sometimes that environment included family, and they weren't the best environment for me.
Sure.
And it's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay to be like, no, I don't. You are not good for me. Yeah. I mean, it broke my heart, and it hurt. It hurt me to have to say that to family. But at the same time, there was a lot going on with me, and I also was trying to understand a lot of why were they coming at me from their position, right?
Sure.
So whenever somebody gets mad at you, and this is something that's always stuck with me, it's not a reflection on you, it's a reflection on them.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Yeah.
Our minds were in
There
sync.
you go. Must be the head thing.
It is, yeah. Our bald heads are uniting in
Right? Right?
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, man, that's great. Who's someone who helps you keep a positive mental attitude?
Um, my wife,
Yeah,
honestly. My wife and my kids. Um, and then my wife, because I know she will never let me. She's my biggest cheerleader. She's also my biggest critic, next to
of
myself.
course.
Um, which is I love, because she's been just honest with me. She's not afraid to tell me when I'm being a pain. She's not afraid to pick me up at the same time. Um, and my kids, because just the pure joy, like, you know, you don't appreciate it until like you go out and you get to, our age, I guess, or a little bit older, and you start, like, you see kids and just how joy, just pure joy. They even just be outside. It's, sweating their butt off and humid and dirty, and they're just happy,
Uh-huh.
right? And the lesson in that for me has always been, like, no matter how bad it can be, or how bad it gets, you can always turn something negative into a positive, right? Just go roll around in mud, or go stand in the rain and, like, whatever. And usually, almost always, 99.9% of the time, will put a smile on my face. You know what I mean? Because there's nothing more fun than out of nowhere throwing a water balloon at your wife or your kids, and then them running, chasing you to get you back.
Does that happen regularly in your house?
No, it's usually water guns or the hose.
Okay, that's cool.
But
Sounds like
it's,
fun.
yeah, man. We only got so much time, and I'm not gonna miss any of it.
Yeah.
Because I'm so swamped in my work, so career obsessed. There's nothing wrong with those things. It's just not for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when you want to refuel, what's one of your go-to meals that helps you to feel your best?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I go in cycles. So right now, honestly, has been like a burrito. I've been on a um, Los Primos Mexican Restaurant diet at dinner time. Never been a big, I guess, Mexican restaurant kind of person.
Uh-huh.
Other than chips, their chips are great. Uh, but I it, I burritos, man. That is like one of my guilty pleasures right now. But a month ago, it was literally like, um, what do you call that? Poke bowls.
Poke bowls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and then a couple of months before that, it was, I want to keep wanting to say Five Guys. No, Cookout. Like, it just varies, man. And I'm an equal opportunity eater, so I'll eat whatever. But yeah, and but like when I was at the height of working out, I don't recommend this, but one of my things was always to, like, do this. I don't recommend it, and I don't do it very often now. But it was always like my pick me up. It was always like, all right, I need to get hyper to get stuff done.
Yeah.
Right.
Energy drink.
Yeah. And it's, but even before that, it was just like, we got into this thing called alkaline water, which is a big thing right now. Right.
Oh yeah.
So we actually don't buy it. We have a alkalized water machine. At home, love that thing. Actually, still, like when I work out, I make my pre-workout, my post-workout with it, the water that comes out of there. And it still is, but it was my energy drink for the longest time. It's just that water. Right?
Yeah, I've heard it's really good for you, and it does really energize you.
Yeah, yeah. It's water. I've never been a big water drinker, right? Like you can give me water, but you better put something in
Right.
it. So yeah, hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I've been on a like adding something to water kick for some time now. Someone recommended this like electrolyte powder
Mhm.
that I use. So I'll throw that in for some flavor. And then my partner also got me on to adding a little bit of apple cider vinegar to my water as well,
There you go.
for that gut health.
Yeah, no, there you go. Well, there's one thing now. Gatorade came up with this, and I'm not affiliated by Gatorade by any means, but
This
but
podcast is not sponsored by Gatorade.
yeah, right. There you go. Throw your disclaimer. But no, I mean, no, I've looked into this and I didn't see any added sugars or anything of that sort. It's mostly like um, fruit that it says it's made out of or flavored out of. So it's been nice. Um, but I'm actively trying to cut soda out of my repertoire. Um, and but I do like it. I'm transitioning from like energy drinks into more coffee and then slowly moving that over to like water, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
You know.
Good for you, man. Yeah. I
Cool.
cut out soda a long time ago, and I definitely am better off for it. I stick to coffee, tea, and water, and that serves me pretty well.
Yeah, and I
That
was
said, though, I do have like kombucha from time
okay.
to time.
Yeah.
Occasionally, I'll have an energy drink, but that's pretty rare. Yeah.
It coffee has kind of been my go-to for the most part now. And but I found out that like if allowed to, I'll drink a cup of coffee. I'll drink 2 or 3 pots a day.
Oh yeah, I could put down a lot of coffee too.
Yeah, exactly.
So if people want to follow along with you on your journey on social media or on your website, where can they connect with you?
Well, we have our Facebook page, probably the easiest place. It's called Hampton Roads Home Page. Um, I really proud of that one because I thought that would be taken, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
It's really just our real estate journey. And between me and my wife and the occasional cameo from my kids, and it's just us. Yeah, it's everything real estate / our crazy zoo, and yeah. So look us up, Facebook.
Cool. And I know you have a personal Instagram as well. Do you have an Instagram for your real estate or for like your family?
We have we have Hampton Roads homepage, Instagram. I don't keep up with that as much as of late. And part of it, my wife is usually better at the social media thing anyway, to be
Okay.
honest. So
Does she run the family social media accounts?
pretty much,
Nice.
pretty much. And one, it keeps me out of trouble, and two, it just lets her, she's better at pictures. I'm a horrible picture. Like, I don't like taking pictures. I don't know why. It's just never been a thing for me. But she's great at it, and she knows exactly, because she's like, whenever we're at family events, she's like, remember, take pictures. And when I take pictures, it ends up being blurry, or I'm taking pictures of my foot or something, off the distance. But hers are just great. So I let her just kind of run with it.
Well, that's cool. Y'all can collaborate in that way.
Yeah. Well, It's taken some work.
It's a process, right?
Yeah, always a process.
It's a process.
Yeah.
Well, Jullan. Hey guys, thanks for checking out our podcast. I hope you got a lot out of it and it was helpful for you in your personal growth journey. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast yet, please do so on your preferred podcast provider. We're available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Stay blessed and keep the PMA. Later.